Welcome, everybody. We decided to do this video series today because a lot of the times when we're interviewing STTS or Secrets to Their Success interviewees, sometimes they're 30, 40, 50 years old, and we kind of want to actually show you the person that was literally a teenager, that everybody, no matter what age you are, can make it big on the internet. So I'd like to welcome today Jermaine Griggs on the set today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem. I'm happy to be here, Corey.
Okay. You know, you're one of my favorite success stories because you literally, were brought up, and grew up with a single mom. You've built a very profitable business from scratch, and you've done it basically with no money and some hard work.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was 16 years old when I got started, so I had nothing, absolutely nothing. I lived with my grandma, one-bedroom apartment, and now we're doing things, and
Nice.
can't wait to see where it's going.
Speaking of doing things, I think that you mentioned that this year doing last year you did $400,000 in business, right?
Absolutely.
And you're on track for $500,000 this year?
Yeah, it's scary, but it's happening.
And you get 50 to 60,000 visitors a month, right?
Yes, literally from nothing to that number, 60,000.
Now, let me get this straight. You're how old?
I'm 20 years old, and I always joke, I'm not as young as I used to be, because a lot of that happened when I was 16. I was used to 16, 17, I'm 20, getting a little older, but I mean, a lot of people could argue, you're still a little lad, so.
Did you hear that, guys? 20 years old. Whoever's watching this, 20 years old, you have no excuse. You have 15, 20 years experience on them. This guy's 20 years old and making it, making it big before he's even got into his prime.
Yeah.
So before we get started here, tell me a little bit about your background, about your business, about where you came from, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, well, Corey, I started briefly when I was about 15, 16. I had this site called shop2x.com, and basically it was an online shopping mall. Mm-hmm. I had vendors like Toys R Us, I had Nordstrom's. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was just happy to have those logos on my site. Mm-hmm. And back then, you had some affiliates who were willing, or companies were willing to give you 50 cents a click.
Right.
So I said, well, I'm just going to make money sending visitors. I don't care if they buy, I don't care if they go, I just need to send them. Right. So I got my first $800 check. I was 16, I showed grandma, everybody was happy. But me, I knew that wasn't enough to do anything. I mean, that was prom, that was winter formal. What can I do with $600 to $800? So what I did then, I was teaching people how to play piano, something I was doing for years. I had these neighborhood kids that I was teaching, and I made workbooks for them. And, it came to me one day, why don't I sell these workbooks, And one of the ways that I thought to sell them was to use the internet as a mechanism. I started putting flyers in laundromats, but it's only so far you can go with that. No car. Right. So the internet was that vehicle that allowed a 16-year-old, if you will, to start a big business, appear big, and of course at that time I was making $500 to $600 when I was 16. Right. And it was cute, you can imagine. It was cute to the family, cute to grandma, cute to mom. And from there, it just took off. I learned, I did what I had to do, and now we're sitting here, I'm talking to you, and like you said, 400,000 last year, and I'm very thankful for that.
So actually I want to kind of bring up, you mentioned a couple things I actually want to emphasize. First is that your first business, shop2x.com, is that right?
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Wasn't very successful.
No, not at all. It was cute, but it wasn't successful.
And that's a really good point, because I think that a lot of people think that they're first have to get online and have this big success and make millions of dollars. And the story is, or the goal is, at the end of the day, you just want to get online.
Right.
You just want to try something.
Right.
And it makes just a few bucks. You learn so much from that. Right. And you can progress into your next business, which will make a lot more money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand. They think, I got to make a lot of money up front. So I really want to emphasize that. You started a first business and you didn't make much money. It was a couple $100 a month.
Yeah, a couple $100. I mean, it was more a learning experience.
Right.
It wasn't a profitable venture. I wasn't going on talk shows with that website, definitely not. And it's just something that I learned from and was able to apply my failures of that business, or, just things that I learned as I went to this new one. And, it's like what the old folks say, at first you don't succeed, try something else. And, Here and Play proved to be what, my next venture would be.
Right.
And is where we are now.
I kind of want, for everybody that's listening to this and viewing this, that's really important to understand. You just need to take action, do something. It may not be successful the first time. Don't be afraid to fail, because you're going to learn so much. I call it an insurance policy. It's like you're investing in your future. You got to go out there and do something to learn. You got to go out there and do something to experience that, and that will lead into so many other businesses. I can tell you hordes of stories of how someone got online, planned to do X, and ended up doing Y and making a ton more money. And they never would have seen the business opportunity where Y was because they never would have been online if they didn't start to do X, which was a failing business.
Right.
I can actually attribute that to myself. I've made the small money doing different other businesses, and I've grown into other bigger businesses because I started with one small business and it propagated and mutated, learned about other things that were available online, learned from friends and so on to start other businesses online. And I hear that story all the time. There's everything from the hair transplant guy that was selling hair transplant stuff online.
Wow.
He can actually sell us now a product or services, to say, all over the world by teaching people, or I should say consulting with people of what hair transplant service is the best rather than actually doing hair transplant services itself.
Right.
So his business mutated into something else, but he would never have learned how he can make all his money doing consulting for hair transplantation if he didn't actually start selling hair transplant services online in the first place.
Right. That's why I love the internet. I
Right.
mean, it allows you to expand. I mean, at the same time, you can take your local shop, you can reposition yourself and go out to the world. And that's what I've done. I mean, I went from literally teaching your son or daughter, or anyone's son or daughter for that matter, around the corner, to teaching people in the UK and Africa and Asia with the power of the internet. So it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where you've come from. You can literally take your ideas, your business, your vision, whatever you have envisioned, whatever you've done in your business plan, you can take that worldwide on the internet. And, if a 20-year-old can do it, and, I'm young, that's just the truth. I can't say I'm old. I can't say I had all this experience. I can't say all of that stuff. All I can say is that the internet has allowed me to do some of the things that, the big boys do, so to speak.
And you took something you were doing offline, teaching people how to play the piano, and brought that online and made a very successful, $500,000 a year business out of it.
Absolutely.
So for everybody out there that's viewing today, you probably don't know what Jermaine does. He owns a site called hearandplay.com, just the way it sounds, hearandplay.com. So Jermaine, kind of tell us a little bit about that, where you started with that, how you got to where it is today, and how you grew it so darn fast.
Okay. Well, Hear and Play is exactly how it sounds. Hear and play. We teach people how to hear music, how to hear music, and how to play it. And our motto is, if you can hear it, you can play it. And basically playing by ear, any instrument for that matter, piano, violin, guitar, organ, means the ability to play without reading sheet music. For years we're taught to go traditionally and play sheet music, and that's good. That's awesome, if you want to learn Beethoven and Mozart. But the truth is that most popular music, when you see people playing in bands and on the stages, they're just rocking their heads and they're into it. And it's hard to do that reading sheet music. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both. We specialize in playing by ear, and that's something to cover. It's a niche market. You can't cover everything. I can't cover playing by ear, sheet music, Beethoven, Mozart, Stevie Wonder. I pick a niche, and specifically playing by ear applies to band members, musicians that play in church services, that play in organizations, weddings, things like that.
So I wanted to take a moment here.
Okay.
It's really important to understand that Jermaine has picked a niche. It's like I taught in my courses and the videos, everything, picked a niche and monopolized that niche and makes a lot of money doing it. People would think, how would you make money selling teach people how to play music via ear instead of teaching people Beethoven and all types of music and sheet music and so on and so on. And I'm not even a musician, but just one small little tiny thing, you're thinking, that wouldn't make any money, and you're now going to do you already did $400,000 last year. You're going to do $500,000 this year.
You'd be surprised.
So with that said, I don't mean to get you off track. Why don't you go in and tell us a little bit about what you sell, and then what kind of money you're making, how you grew it, that kind of thing.
All right, well, we started with 5 workbooks, and when I was young, 16 years old, I couldn't hire anyone to, do software or videos, and even this nice interview, I couldn't afford that. I mean, I had to start with what I could do. I could type at least, so I made my workbooks and designed them with just basic, typewriting skills, word processing. Went down to my local office store, had it bound for a few dollars, and got that started. 5 workbooks. I was making around $500 to $700 a month. It wouldn't even be a sale a day. I mean, I would be happy to get a sale for those 5 workbooks. I mean, a sale would be something like, okay, we got a sale, cancel, whatever I have to do. Let's go to Office Depot, Office Max, let's make these books and let's get them out. And then we'll repeat the same thing the next day if we get a sale. If we get a sale, So that's pretty much how it went. The workbooks were great. great, but after I got a little bit of money, that 700, I would save about 100. Teenager, you have things to do too. So it wasn't like I had a lot in savings. I had literally nothing even at that point, but I saved a little bit to, invest back into the company since it was small. And I made a 300-page workbook. And this is where I pretty much conglomerated or combined everything into this one book. And it had interactive lessons. I had a CD-ROM made. Basically a small software program, didn't cost a lot. It's something that was multiple choice, kind of like JavaScript.
Right, now, before actually, I'm on it, now you don't know programming, right? You didn't program this yourself.
Oh no, I didn't program it myself.
So you hired someone to build it. You had this idea and said, I want to build a software that teaches people this, and this is how I want it to operate.
Right.
And you went online and you said, hey, someone go make this for me, and they charge you a fee.
Yeah, they charged me a small fee with the money that I had made.
Right.
I wouldn't even say, over $100. It wasn't even that big back then,
So you get your own software program and it costs you like $100 or whatever it was.
Oh yeah. You can go to sites nowadays and people will bid the lowest amount.
Right.
It's not like you have to say, here, I have 1,000 to spend.
Right.
All you have to say is, I have something that needs to be made, and people from other countries, here, there, they'll bid and they'll say, I'll do it and I'll do it for this amount.
That fact, we should mention to the viewers that, he got a piece of software built for a very low cost. See an idea, and he wrote his own manuals, a 300-page manual. You can go online and get people to even write these manuals for you.
Right.
I mean, you can hire people like at elance.com and these other. There's lots of places out there you can do it.
Right.
So I just want to kind of let people know out there that it's not necessary for you to do all the work.
Oh.
I mean, a lot of people can hire people for very low costs in Romania and Russia that charge next to nothing.
Right,
to do this
and
stuff.
that's good living too.
Yeah.
I heard a story where someone bought a program for $400, but in that particular country, that was a month's living.
Right.
So that person was happy.
Yeah.
That person, wow, you're the best bidder I've ever had. You're the best, buyer, and at the same time, it's affordable to you.
Yeah.
It's a win-win, situation.
So with that said, you don't have to do it yourself. Get someone, you can hire someone else to do it for you. So tell us a little bit about where you said you're making $700. That's about, I'm just doing the math in my head, $20 a day or something like that.
Roughly 20, $30 a day.
So what happened after that?
And you can't even say 20 to 30 because my product was 60. You just divide it into 2 days, So 35 means, every
couple of days
day,
you're getting a sale, right.
For $70. So basically, we went from there. At that point, I saw some potential. I mean, even at $500 to $700, it's doing something, And I said there has to be something better out there. And at that point, I went on a search to see, what are people doing online? Who's succeeding? Who's not? What are they doing right? I mean, if they're doing something right, there has to be a method. I don't believe in necessarily reinventing the wheel, which is to say, come up with some big old new theory of how to do it. I know there's people out there doing it, So I went on, I even found your site. I found you everywhere. It wasn't a matter of having to search for you. You came everywhere I went. I said, wow, this guy is everywhere I went. How did he do that? How did he get his site out there? What did it? And so I started researching. I found your course. I found, information online basically that taught me how to get people there. And then once you get them, because that's half of the battle, you can get them there and not sell them. But how to make this type of sales copy, this sales letter, and I've never seen it before in my industry, but how to make this type of sales copy that really attracts people to buy. I mean, gets them excited to buy. Not just what I had making $500 to $700 a month was a 4-sentence description. 5 workbooks, teaches student how to play by ear, click here to buy.
Like the catalogs, it's a little picture of it, little description, click here to buy.
Oh yeah, and I don't know why I was so ignorant to believe that, people would just get on and buy, I guess one of the myths, you just put it up and you think they'll buy it, but there's some things that you have to do, There's ways to arrange your site, and that's how I learned. I went on a search for that, and literally, after I learned how to make a sales page, a basic sales page, and this was something that this industry probably had never seen, a long sales page for a piano book. I mean, giving me advantages and disadvantages and why to do it and what I'm going to accomplish and testimonials. And I mean, it was awesome. I got myself excited. I mean, if I didn't play the piano, I was going to play. I was so excited about this sales letter. And the next day, and I know we're going to talk about newsletters. The next day, I mean, I sent out a broadcast to the little list I had, customers, referrals, and I introduced them to this new site, the newly revised site, updated, and it was a long sales copy, I was in college as well. I'm still am in college, but I was in the dorm, and I let people read this, and it's too long, or oh, people aren't going to read that,
Yeah.
and and all I had was the faith that people are doing this and it's working, and I can't listen to people around me just saying it won't work. That's another thing. A lot of people around you will say this won't work, but you have to go by the experts, the people that have done it and have proven themselves to have went through the test of time, basically, and that's what I listened to. And the next day, I brought in sales of $800, I believe it was $800 to $900 that next day. The following day, $1,000. I was having a heart attack.
You're only doing one sale every couple of days, and now next thing you got almost $1,000 in sales. Next day, you're like, wait a second, what happened?
Literally, and I have bank statements, that show that increase in one day. It wasn't like a gradual, they say a slope, it wasn't like that. It was like, boom, like one change to my site created that type of results, that type of increase, and my heart was pounding. I remember I said I was using Office Depot. Well, Office Depot got the best business they've ever got in the world from me. It was to the point where I couldn't even use them anymore. I had to go and get, a company that could professionally design my book. I have a nice, copy of the book. The cover is all bled to the side, barcodes. Now it looks nice. I'm proud of it,
But the point here is that you started with nothing.
Nothing.
You just started with a book that was really crappy. You started with a site that was really crappy.
Right.
You started a site that wasn't making much money. Let's actually summarize. So you went out, site was making, let's call it $20, $30 a day. I know you only make a sale once every couple of days. When you average it out, it's a couple, $20, $30 a day.
Absolutely.
You're doing that. You go out, you see me on the internet. You see the course, read the course.
Right.
I think it's the second chapter where it talks about sales copy, teaching you how to do that long sales copy, right? Yeah. So we talk about the long sales copy. You go change your sales letter, and now all of a sudden you're doing not $20 or $30 a day, you're doing $1,300 or $1,000 to $1,300 a day.
Right.
And now you just told me before the interview that you're doing, on a good day, you'll do actually $6,500 a day. Right.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second.
The chills are coming back.
He's 20 years old.
The chills are coming back as you speak. It's not something you even get used to. I can't sit here and I would be fibbing. Grandma might be listening. I can't say lying. I'll be fibbing to say that I'm so used to it, because when a day like that happens, it's still exciting. It's music to my ears. It's music by ear to my ears.
So with that said, I kind of want to have a relation here, and that is, very similar stories to myself. I started with $25. Wow. I based enough to pay my website fee, my website hosting fee. I did everything myself. Now, I wish I started with $2,500 because it'd be more believable. People are like, you started with $25. I don't believe that, right?
Right.
But you're the same situation. You started with very little money. You had no money. You're a teenager building this book, and as you put it online and you didn't have anything fancy, you decided to, you decided to type it yourself. Photocopied at Office Depot, and you didn't even have a stock and inventory of them. You had to go out, an order came, you have to run down to Office Depot and get the order, or get the copy made, and come back and ship it out. So
literally.
You're starting basically from scratch, as basic as they get. And I think it's really important that everybody viewing this understands that we don't want to start with an inventory, a warehouse with inventory. We start with nothing. And we running out to Office Depot to make that first product because the first sale came in. And we need to realize that you have to start somewhere and take action. So I see a lot of relationships here, and the relationship also too is that I went out and I decided not to come up with a product, but to go out and I thought about, what is a problem that I can solve? What problems are people having that I can solve? And being in the business I was in, which was the car business, I realized a lot of people are asking me advice on how to buy new cars. How do I not get ripped off when I buy a new car? How to buy a new car really cheap?
Right.
And so I started writing a book on it. How do I not get ripped off in auto insurance? How do I not get ripped off at the local muffler repair shop? So I was like, that's a need. People are asking me for it.
I'm in that need right now.
Buy my book. I'll give you a copy.
Okay.
So I came to the conclusion that this is a problem that people need solved. So I decided on a market and then had a product to solve that problem, rather than most people make the mistake of going, oh, I've got this great idea for a product. I'm going to go out and do this product. Everybody's going to want it. Well, don't be so sure about that. You need to figure out that, is there a market there, and what do they want? What are they screaming for? And then give them what they're screaming for, offer a solution to their problem. And that's exactly what I did with all my businesses. If you look at, in the course, you have all my material. You buy all the stuff when it comes out.
Yeah.
So that we teach this. We teach, you got to have, look at an easy target market. You can't decide on the product first. You have to decide on the market first, and then find a product for that market. So with that said, Let me ask you about how success changed your life. What has it given you? On a personal level and also on a materialistic level?
Okay, well, Here and Play is my life. I mean, when I talk about Here and Play, if you know Jermaine Griggs, you know Here and Play. I mean, at school, at church, it's just the thing. I mean, everybody knows me. And over the last 2 years, literally, my life has changed, taken a drastic turn. Right. I mean, I was just telling you, back in July, I mean, I had a car. Don't get me wrong. I had a nice family car. My grandma got me. Thank you, Grandma, if you're listening. But, you know, back in July, I got to get my dream car, at least my dream car right now. I got a Mercedes. Anybody familiar? It's a nice car. Right. That's just one of the things on the material level. I mean, I can't even begin to describe on the psychological and emotional level just how it feels not to really worry. How to give good Christmas gifts. It's not now, you know, me taking, it's me giving. Right. And, you know, anybody that's a giver, I mean, knows that feeling to be able to give. You know, I love to give. If I have it, it's yours. You know, Here and Play has allowed me on the emotional, the psychological level. I'm actually, it's funny because right now as we speak, we're in escrow. I'm buying a house. I don't know if I should mention the amount, but it's a nice size house. We're out here in California. Big view of the city. I mean, you look down on the city, it's nice. I'm just happy. I'm content with everything. If nothing else happens, I mean, Here and Play has changed my life. I have stories for days. And
now, you're still in school, right?
Oh yeah, I'm at the University of California.
He's in school and he's doing all this. So, and some of the stuff I know about you. So, you started your business. You've now hired your family. So you're now supporting your family, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. That's awesome.
Your mom works for you.
Your mom works for you.
Yeah, mom works for me, and you know, I can attest. Sometimes she comes in late. I have to say, "Mom, you're late." You know?
And so you got your mom working for you. You know, you're giving back that way. I mean, I know that you see you excited every day. You can tell you're so excited. You're so happy to be there. You know, that's changed your life as far as you run your own schedule.
Right.
You're still in school.
Oh yeah.
You now bought a Mercedes. You just are in escrow for a house. You're 20 years old and buying your house. And I asked you this question before, and you told me, and I said, I have to admit, I have a question that is pretty personal. I asked him. I said, so Jermaine, you know, 20 years old, how much money do you have in the bank? He said, $100,000. Right. I'm like, how does it feel to have $100,000 cash in the bank at 20 years old?
Hey, I can't even describe the feeling. I mean, sometimes I wake up and say, I mean, I check my account every day to see if it just, you know, if it's true. You know, like, is it still there? You know, because it's crazy.
You're
it's
pinching yourself. Wait a second.
I'm pinching myself because just the other day it was at 500. It was like I would write a check and make sure I transfer money from my savings to get there.
Right.
Many people can relate to me. I mean, I transfer that money, make sure that check doesn't bounce.
And now you have $100,000. You're like, I'm not going to bounce any checks.
Bouncing like a basketball. But now, you know, it's just that feeling, like I said, that emotional feeling to have that. That's security. I mean, Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's comfortability at that level probably.
Now, how many hours are you working a week?
Not very many, probably just a couple hours a day. And to tell you the truth, that's just to check on stats. I'm just, you know, I'm just glued to the screen sometimes, just seeing how the day is going. Not checking emails or anything like that, but just seeing how the day is going. If I didn't do that, probably nearly, you know, zero. Because what I do now is grow the business. And, you know, at that point, I'm out talking to people, you know, with related sites and, you know, working on alliances and partnerships, but I'm not doing the day-to-day because I found out how to automate that. And I think that's really important as you proceed step by step to automate. I'm not standing in line at the post office. There were days when I would be at the post office for 2 hours. I kid you not. Office Depot for an hour, then post office, then hit my last class. You know, back
at
here.
School,
hit my last class, back here.
That's amazing.
And now, you know, step by step, I've learned how to outsource even the shipping of the product, the making of the product, to the point where we control none of that.
But the point is that you didn't have it all in the beginning.
I didn't have it.
Progressed that. So you started with nothing, taking action, doing something.
You do something.
Starting small, and then as you get bigger and bigger, you start outsourcing. You start, you know, making time for yourself and so on and so on. And that's really important for everybody to understand here. Now, let's talk about what you do. You're only working a couple hours a day now. You have a nice car, you know, house, you got cash in the bank. You got family working for you, supporting your family. You're feeling great. You're you know, loving what you do.
Right.
You know, but you're still 20 years old. You're still playing PlayStation, going shooting hoops, and
yeah. Don't get the idea for 1 minute that I am this little geek that sits in the house all day and looks at his computer. That is not the case. That is not the case. I mean, I play PlayStation. I'm on Madden 2004. If you want to challenge me, just send me an email. I have it connected online. I'm on there. You know, I play basketball, I'm into church. I mean, my life has not changed. I mean, I don't want anyone to think that, you know, running an online business means being occupied.
Right.
Oh, it's the opposite of that. It's freedom. It's freedom to do what you love. And if you want to give more hours, that's your prerogative. I mean, more hours will only help to, you know, make your business thrive more. I mean, if I gave more hours, I know that, you know, I could give you better stats today.
Right.
But, you know, we have lives. Like, you know, I was telling
you're still making great money.
Yeah, you have lives. I mean, I haven't even touched all the bases. I mean, I'm on first base. I still feel, you know, I have other things to do.
Still can grow to $2, $3, $4 million business. So with that said, what kind of tools and strategies do you use to bring visitors to your website?
Several strategies, and I learned a lot from your course, of course, because before that, all that stuff was foreign to me. I just thought, you know, send people emails, get on the boards, and, you know, put your post on there, and people will come. And that's kind of how I did it with the, you know, the old strategies that I use, you know, the 5 workbooks. I just got on message boards and type stuff, you know, free lessons, come to my site, come to my site.
And just with that, you were making, back then, you were still making $500, $700 a month. There's the real simple, get on chat boards and the real basic stuff.
Yeah, when chat boards were worth anything. I haven't been to a chat board in forever, but, you know, now since I've kind of gotten, you know, the basics down in terms of how to get people to my site. One of the main things I use is search engines. Of course, I don't know the exact stat, 80% or something along that line of people come through search engines. And I use pay-per-clicks, because pay-per-clicks basically says, you know, Jermaine, put your money where your mouth is. If you want to be first place, you know.
First place on search engines, you mean?
Search engines, yeah. I mean, you can get